Hey, what's up guys, Mikey here. We're 3.5 seasons into SpongeBob SquarePants at this point, and all we've seen when it comes to Mr. Krabs and Plankton are just them at each other's throats. I want to see them bonding just for once, and I don't care if it's part of a convoluted scheme, I just want to see them having fun for a change. New Leaf is the episode where Plankton decides to turn the chum bucket into a gift shop and sell knickknacks, but Mr. Krabs thinks it's just another scheme to steal the secret formula. This episode aired on September 22nd, 2006, and was also released on the Karate Island DVD on July 18th, 2006, 2 months before it aired on TV. This was kind of common for SpongeBob home media releases around 2006 to 2008 or so, most notably with season 4 and 5 episodes, when an episode would release on DVD before it officially airs on Nickelodeon. And this was the first season 4 episode to do that. When I was younger, I thought it was a bit odd because most of the episodes I had on DVD, I had already seen on TV at the time. Maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, but that was the reason why I got the DVDs, to love and enjoy the episodes without being tied to basic cable. But even despite that, I still ate it up. Having an episode on DVD before it officially aired on TV was like getting an exclusive sneak peek that people wouldn't know about unless it was advertised having a never-before-seen episode. And that was my first memory with this episode, watching it over and over again on the Karate Island DVD release. Admittedly, it did feel a bit anticlimactic when it finally did air on TV, but of course, Nickelodeon not airing even one fully completed SpongeBob episode is leaving money on the table. Beyond that, this is also the first time we see Mr. Krabs and Plankton being friends in some way. Oh yes! Due to how far Plankton takes his scheme in this episode, Mr. Krabs and Plankton end up having a rare bonding moment. Their history is implied here too, much like how it was earlier in this season with episode 121, Krabs vs. Plankton, but it'll be fleshed out much more later, and it won't be too much longer before we see more in action, whether it's a friendship moment or them teaming up together. Back in the day, I thought this episode was interesting for delving into those ideas, and that was another one of the reasons I liked watching it more and more on its original DVD release. And now it's that time of the week to watch this episode and see how well it holds up. So the episode starts up and Plankton is surrendering, waving a white flag. Mr. Krabs didn't believe this and said it would take a lot more than taking a stab at his illiteracy to offend him. Illiteracy? I've seen Mr. Krabs both read and write before. Why did he say illiteracy? Plankton just hated how many times he failed to steal the formula and showed how bad of a condition the chum bucket was as a result of his anxiety and pain. So he decided to quit the restaurant business and turn the chum bucket into a gift shop. Mr. Krabs thought this was a f***ing joke and said that he would not let his guard down as Plankton started a new livelihood. Mr. Krabs told his employees about Plankton's new plan and warned them to keep their eyes peeled, and SpongeBob did just that.
Now that's an employee who follows orders.
No wonder Mr. Krabs thinks Squidward doesn't follow orders. Plankton created a new sign for the chum bucket, calling it the Chumporium, and SpongeBob came back with a souvenir. Mr. Krabs assumed there was a bug or something to spy on them, but there was nothing inside, but just to be safe, he threw it in a closet with lots of other Plankton's failed schemes. Mr. Krabs decided to outfake Plankton and talked loudly and claiming that they don't have to worry about him anymore.
Plankton's turned over a new leaf. He said it.
Mr. Krabs decided to celebrate by firing up the DJ system and throwing a party. He then looked outside and saw Plankton leaving the Chumporium with a seal plush. Why is he leaving the chum bucket to get some shut-eye when he lives at the chum bucket? Mr. Krabs looked inside and saw shelves lined with merchandise, but he still wouldn't believe Plankton had changed. The next day, he walked in and confronted Plankton. Plankton claimed that he enjoyed selling novelty items, but Mr. Krabs even took out the formula to tempt Plankton to steal it. Plankton declined the offer, but Mr. Krabs still believed that this was nothing more than a f***ing facade and started to destroy some of the shelves and knickknacks, which made Plankton shocked, saying Mr. Krabs destroyed his livelihood. Yeah, selling one knickknack to SpongeBob really signifies Plankton's new life, which just started the previous day. Mr. Krabs just shrugged it off and taunted Plankton with the formula until Plankton shouted the loudest he did ever. Mr. Krabs left the chum bucket and dropped the formula, but when Plankton noticed it, he threw it back at Mr. Krabs. He admitted his defeat and said he enjoyed starting a new career with the gift shop. Mr. Krabs was shocked and started crying over his actions. Later that night, he called Plankton right as Plankton got out of the shower. See, Plankton lives and showers at the chum bucket. I don't care if this was part of an elaborate scheme. He didn't need to leave the chum bucket to get some sleep earlier. Mr. Krabs apologized for how he acted earlier and admitted that he actually cared that he hurt Plankton's feelings and offered to make it up to him. The next day, they met at the Krusty Krab and got a soda. Mr. Krabs offered to start over and actually be friends again, and Plankton was happy to do this. A montage occurs of them having fun together, and Plankton proves he can let Mr. Krabs trust him by catching him at the trust booth. I don't know what's more impressive, Plankton catching Mr. Krabs, or Mr. Krabs giving Plankton some of his own Krusty Krab soda. After a day of fun, Mr. Krabs and Plankton sat on the edge of the boardwalk, agreeing they can trust each other now. Mr. Krabs offered to give Plankton the secret formula, and Plankton was shocked that Mr. Krabs would even consider this. Even after being very hesitant to take it, he still did. After a brief fade to black, Plankton reveals everything he did was a scheme all along.
I should have been a politician.
But the formula was just a note. Mr. Krabs came in right after, saying he fooled Plankton with that whole friendship act and left laughing. Plankton screamed, and the episode ends. If Plankton was a politician, I wonder if he'd be more hated as a politician or when he tries to steal the formula. Probably as a politician. So that was New Leaf, and I think that's a fine enough episode. I would say that my biggest complaint with this is that I wish it was funnier. The parts I found the funniest back in the day were when Mr. Krabs over-exaggerates his speech when trying to outfake Plankton, and the gag where SpongeBob peels his eyes. And I do like how Squidward's voice actor Roger Bumpus delivered this line here.
This is idiotic.
In terms of funny scenes, I think that's about it. But there are also a lot of other scenes I do like about it. I like the DJ set and the brief party scene. I like how Plankton's plan is less diabolical than usual. Even though he claimed it was diabolical at the end, this is more leisurely than most of his plans, pretending to quit selling chum at the restaurant and turn it into a gift shop. It's definitely more laid back, and I think that's a fine direction to try out for once. Even if it is obvious it's a scheme all along, I do like that Plankton takes it as far as he does, not immediately swiping the formula when Mr. Krabs leaves it behind, and when he catches Mr. Krabs to trick him into thinking he can be trusted for once. I love how devastated he looks when Mr. Krabs destroyed some of the merchandise, and when he snaps at Mr. Krabs telling him to get the fuck out. Scenes like that are quite impactful and shows Plankton definitely can commit to the bit and not seem completely obvious with what he was trying to do. Probably as a politician. And I also like that Mr. Krabs seemingly believed that Plankton had changed for a bit, and that it was his idea for them to meet up, grab a soda, and for them to spend some time together by starting over. I know he was out-faking Plankton here, but he still didn't need to do that, and I still felt some genuine emotion between both of them during scenes like this. It does help fool the audience by making us think that this might actually be a change of heart for once. I do like the montage where they hang out with each other and having a grand old time. These scenes are very nice and show they can be pseudo-friends if possible. I don't think Mr. Krabs was being too mean-spirited by being as skeptical as it was. There were some things that Plankton did that made Mr. Krabs surprised on how clever Plankton's plans can be. Like episode 49, Imitation Krabs from season 2, where Plankton had a robot to trick SpongeBob into thinking he won $1 million. After that plan failed, he flat out said Plankton was clever.
That Plankton is a clever beast.
Or episode 114, Plankton's Army from season 3, where Mr. Krabs thought a robot was going to order Plankton a Krabby Patty, but that didn't happen, and Plankton was hiding inside the dollar that the robot gave to Mr. Krabs. So I totally understand that Mr. Krabs would be more skeptical of Plankton after something like that. And after years of Plankton trying to steal the formula, even before SpongeBob was hired at the Krusty Krab, of course he'd get more suspicious of Plankton's plans over time. There are also some subtle details in this episode that I like. In this shot of the closet, we can see a robot Mr. Krabs, referencing Plankton's plan of pretending to be Mr. Krabs using a robot from Imitation Krabs. It's a bit weird it still exists, since it exploded at the end of the episode, but still, nice callback. Also, how the paper Mr. Krabs give Plankton is white with a blue outline, a hint that this doesn't have the real formula on it, which is usually on a light brown paper. I will say, there are a couple of big negatives that do bring this episode down a bit. The first issue is that we don't see Plankton have any customers buying any souvenirs outside of SpongeBob that one time. If we saw people buying some of his souvenirs, it would definitely make this even more believable, that Plankton truly has come to enjoy selling souvenirs. So not giving Plankton customers to buy Chumporium knickknacks is definitely a missed opportunity. But in my opinion, the biggest negative about this episode is more so the fact that it came out after the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Since that movie is the be-all end-all finale of the show, any episodes that came out after the movie already occurred in the SpongeBob timeline, and the first movie is the one time Plankton was able to successfully steal the formula and sell Krabby Patties at the Chum Bucket. I feel if this episode came out in Season 3, a lot of this would have been so much more believable. The bonding moments between the two characters would be so much more interesting, and probably even funnier in Season 3 compared to 4. And Season 4 already gives Plankton so much more screen time, so putting Plankton's army in Season 4 and revealing Plankton's family for the first time this season would fit right into Season 4 like a glove in my opinion. Doing an episode like this so soon after the movie feels a little redundant since it's the canonical finale in the SpongeBob timeline. Aside from those two glaring negatives, I'd call this a decent enough episode. It could be funnier for sure, but it doesn't really feel mean-spirited to me, so that's another subtle positive. And even better, there's nothing nauseating in this one either, so I'm thankful for that and you should be too. So I do like the bonding moments between Mr. Krabs and Plankton, the fact that while the plan goes deep, it's more laid back and shows a slightly different side to Plankton. And in retrospect, the fact that I saw this on DVD before it came out on television is probably why this stuck with me the most. It's not terrible, but there's not much worth writing home about either. So while it is kind of memorable since it's a new scheme for Plankton, there's not too much to say beyond it. Maybe if you ended up watching the movie after watching this episode, then this probably would work better. But if you watch it for the first time after seeing the first movie for the first time, then yeah, there's probably not much to say about it. But speaking of Plankton, the inside of his mouth is purple here. I didn't notice that till later, but how many other people noticed before I did? New Leaf is an okay enough episode, I'd say. It can feel a little less than exciting at times, but it's still a nice slice of life Plankton's Plan story, and those don't come up very often. And now it's time for me to turn over a new leaf. There we go. Now it's time for a change. I've been thinking about adopting a pet lately, but after I helped my friend search for her cat because her boyfriend was busy that day, I don't know if I want to get a pet and risk it running away. I also don't want to risk getting bitten by the pet. I don't want to catch mad mammal disease. Once Bitten is the episode where Gary goes crazy biting people and the town thinks he has mad snail disease and they're all turning into zombies. This episode aired on September 29, 2006 and is also known as
I can't believe that sweet and slimy snail would cause all this destruction.
Well, anything is possible these days. This episode also coined the term Bikini Bottomite, the Bikini Bottom accepted term when describing citizens who live in the town that aren't really major characters like SpongeBob and his friends.
Quick! We must quarantine that infected snail before he bites every last Bikini Bottomite!
And that's what I've always used when describing the general citizens of Bikini Bottom when talking to my friends about the show. So it's nice to have a term to describe the background characters and not just generically referring to them as citizens or denizens. This is also the first episode to feature everybody's favorite Bikini Bottom news anchor, Perch Perkins. He appears in this episode interviewing Squidward, and he's also orange in this one, after appearing for the first time in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie and being purple there. He's orange for this part of the show up until the first half or so of Season 9, and then after the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water, and would remain purple for a good while in the series until he switches back to being orange in Season 12. Whatever's happening with him there, but that's not important right now. Now I love Perch Perkins, so I don't even need to pretend that I will like this episode because of course I do. But I'll concede, let's watch this episode and check out Perch Perkins' first appearance in an episode of the series. So the episode starts up and Squidward is ready to relax outside on a sunny day, but then slips and falls on Gary's slime. This has happened a lot before apparently, and when Gary oozed on Squidward's pet rock collection, that was the last straw for Squidward. And the pet rock collection was never seen again. Or before this, he put up cheap splintery wood and barbed wire to keep Gary out of his yard. But unfortunately, this didn't work, and then he yelled at SpongeBob to keep Gary out of his yard. And while he was ranting, Gary bit Squidward right on the ass. SpongeBob was shocked at this since Gary doesn't normally bite people, but then Gary started foaming at the mouth. Squidward was asking how many shots Gary has had, and SpongeBob said he had all of them. But Patrick brought up mad snail disease and investigates Squidward's rash that already started appearing even though we don't see it, and explains all of the symptoms of mad snail disease and how the bite will ultimately end up turning the bitee into a zombie. And Squidward freaked out.
You need to get that snail of yours to a doctor before he bites someone important.
Okay, Patrick, I see how it is. So Squidward's not somebody important? And then Gary was nowhere to be seen. Patrick ran around Bikini Bottom yelling about Gary and mad snail disease. Nobody believed him at first, but then Gary started biting people, and everybody bitten started freaking out. How did Gary bite all those people without them noticing? Gary biting everybody and spreading mad snail disease all over town was on the news. Perch Perkins interviewed Squidward since he was the first one bitten by Gary. Soon everybody started feeling the symptoms, even those who hadn't been bitten because now apparently it was spreading through the ocean. SpongeBob was still looking for Gary and there were signs of destruction throughout the town. And soon all the zombies in Bikini Bottom started chasing SpongeBob. He ran to the Krusty Krab, but it was locked because all the remaining Bikini Bottomites who hadn't been bitten yet were there. SpongeBob proved he wasn't a zombie by squeezing into the Krusty Krab through the locked doors. Patrick pointlessly questioned if SpongeBob was a zombie or not, but he said he'd keep his eye on SpongeBob otherwise. Old Man Walker twisted Patrick's words and tried to convince Patrick he was a zombie, and same thing with everybody else in the Krusty Krab, and everybody started freaking out. So everybody in town is either a hypochondriac or will believe anything and everything that Patrick and or Old Man Walker have to say. Then it turns out Gary was in the Krusty Krab the whole time. SpongeBob reached out to try to calm Gary down, but Gary got feral and bit SpongeBob anyway. Harold decided to seize Gary, despite SpongeBob's objectives, to stop him from biting every last Bikini Bottomite and infecting them with mad snail disease. But then an orange doctorfish named Dr. Gil Gilliam broke up the mob and told everybody that mad snail disease was an old urban legend. Everybody being a zombie was just mass hysteria, and the supposed symptoms were just common ailments. Okay, so that means everybody in town will believe anything and everything that Patrick and or Old Man Walker will f***ing tell them. And it turns out Gary was feral because he had a splinter in his foot as a result of walking over Squidward's splintery wood barrier. That's Gary's fault for going on that wood in the first place. SpongeBob was happy Gary was back to normal, and Squidward came in, being a zombie, or just being Squidward. Gary bites Mr. Krabs' ass, and the episode ends because all's well that ends well. So that was Once Bitten, and that's a good episode in my opinion. This one is a lot more memorable than New Leaf purely for the visuals of Bikini Bottom and destruction alone. A lot more happens and a lot more characters are involved. It's such a contrast to its sister episode. I like that the whole thing happens because of Gary being persistent on sliming up Squidward's yard. It could definitely be fair that Squidward was that frustrated with Gary making the yard and his possessions a mess. It's all Gary's fault for doing that to Squidward in the first place, but it's probably because he still holds a grudge against Squidward after he didn't feed him or give him water for 3 days straight in episode 27, I Was a Teenage Gary with season 1. But still, the show is inconsistent with Gary's slime though. We don't see the slime in every episode, and it's mostly there when it's required for a plot or a gag or something. I don't find it gross or annoying by any means. I get why they don't always have Gary leave a snail trail behind him in every episode, but it would be nice to see a bit more often. In terms of character interactions, I like how SpongeBob isn't oblivious to Squidward being pissed over Gary leaving slime on his lawn, and when he's upset with Gary for biting Squidward. I like Mr. Krabs' reaction when SpongeBob proves he's not a zombie.
That's right, so let me in before I'm eaten.
Yeah, that's SpongeBob, all right.
I like how serious Patrick is when explaining the mad snail disease. I like how monotone Squidward is during his interview with Perch Perkins, and how SpongeBob is still defendant of Gary despite getting bitten. It's nice that he stands up to everybody in town when they want to attack Gary. A far cry from episode 107, The Great Snail Race from season 3, where he forces Gary to race despite how tired Gary was. I love how chaotic the episode gets, with the mass hysteria going from 0 to 100 in a span of 10 seconds. As short-lived as the zombie chase scene is, I love it. The mass hysteria is kind of like the mob panic over Wormy the Butterfly in episode 50, Wormy from season 2. But I like that this one is taken more seriously. The chase scene in Wormy was played more for laughs, while this one is taken more seriously. Nothing really happened to the citizens of Bikini Bottom in Wormy, and the town was only destroyed because of how much everybody panicked. And sure, nobody was really a zombie in this episode, but the fact that it seemed like something was happening still raised the stakes. When I talk about it like that, it kinda makes the episode sound similar. Bikini Bottom assumes the worst about something that is rather small, which results in mass hysteria and severe damage to Bikini Bottom, only for a character with common sense to swoop in and save the day. Even with all those similarities, the episode does stand out on its own. I love the zombie horror element it has. There are some scenes that are played for laughs, like the bus dropping off SpongeBob on the other side of the block, SpongeBob outside the Krusty Krab, how f***ing ginormous that piece of wood is that was stuck inside Gary's foot, and Squidward's true self being just a zombie. Sure, there are definitely more laughs in Wormy than this one, but I still like that this episode is meant to be taken more seriously. It's a nice contrast in my opinion. There may be less funny moments here than usual, but the visuals of mass destruction and Perch Perkins make up for it. I also like the details of Gary leaving slime everywhere he walks in this episode, and how Gary is drawn in a way where we don't see the splinter in his foot until the end of the episode. I wouldn't say Patrick is entirely in the wrong for kickstarting the mass hysteria on the mad snail disease, because mad cow disease is a thing in real life, so of course there'd be something like that in Bikini Bottom. And Patrick not having a pet snail would make sense as to why he thought mad snail disease was real and not just a myth. And SpongeBob not believing it's real due to how healthy Gary normally is makes sense too. And seeing how Bikini Bottom reacts to things, it's not surprising they'd believe in mad snail disease too. I like that a doctor and snail expert is the one who debunks the mad snail disease instead of Sandy this time. I always thought that Dr. Gil Gilliam was the same character as the purple doctorfish because they have the same voice.
I think you guys want that hospital. It's an old urban legend, a myth.
But they're actually not. Most of the time, the purple doctorfish works at a normal hospital taking care of normal citizens, aside from a couple sparse examples. Gilliam is orange and actually has fingers, unlike most fish in Bikini Bottom, and he is an expert on snails. And I also think that's a good idea. It makes this doctor his own character, even though we haven't seen him since, and that's very sad. This episode is certainly memorable. I remember this one much more than other season 4 episodes when I was a kid, and it wasn't tied to a DVD release. Even if it's not as funny as other episodes from the show, or even from this season, it's still good for his mass hysteria theme and message, and Gary being the cause of the panic. That doesn't happen a lot, and makes this episode one of the most memorable Gary lead roles. And of course, I love Perch Perkins, and I love this episode for being his first appearance in a normal episode. Once Bitten is a decent episode at the very least, in my opinion. Sure, the mass hysteria ended up being over nothing, and started over something that was already nothing, but that's the beauty of SpongeBob. The mass hysteria can end up being over something very small, and nothing worth stressing about in the first place. Just like real life.